Hello.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Waking up to a fire hose.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It's always a busy day for the marshals.
Yeah. I'd say less that and more I was out this weekend, so every phone call is, you know how it goes.
There's a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough. We'll come on in.
Was hoping Blunt would be here, but I think he's still caught up, so.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
Yeah. All right.
All right. We'll have a seat.
Okay.
All right. So, I'm sure you're aware of the audit that got posted by Carmine about just about under a month now, like 20-some days ago, right?
Yep. Yes. Yeah.
Did you get a chance to read through like the things that he said?
Yeah, so I think what kind of caught me off guard earlier with the with the message you had sent is we had kind of prepared for a response. And I was kind of taken aback that it sounds like there wasn't a hearing. So
yeah, there wasn't a hearing.
Yeah.
As far as this one went, as soon as the audit was across my desk, I reached out to the state to determine how exactly they'd like to handle it. If they just wanted me to do a typical hearing, if there was going to be a review of the legislation, like what would specifically be the right way forward.
Yep.
And the decision was made to just run it up to the governor.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, it is I don't want to say a pet project of his, but it is something that he's had a lot of say in the past. So
Okay.
who better than him, right?
Okay.
So the argumentation was presented and it was considered, as well as the reality of how things actually are. And there was some conversations had, and the things that I have to present to you now are the outcomes of that conversation, essentially.
Okay. All right.
I can't really do anything about there not being a hearing. Ultimately, I'm not the governor, so something I can really say or do about that.
Yeah, I'm not. So, just to be clear here, I'm not annoyed or upset that it didn't happen. More confused, I think. And to sort of highlight this for future. So we had the legislation about the what is it? The what was it called? The classified document thing. And so that one went up the chain, finally got signed. And then there was a opportunity for the public to fight those changes, which they did.
Yeah.
Then we had the hearing, and then it still went to vote. And but with this, it was handled different. So for me, it's more a question of expectation, right? So if another audit comes in, do we just, do we have an opportunity to, with this one, like it's whatever, right? But let's say tomorrow there is a audit where it's like, hey, blah, 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 like whatever the argument could be, good or bad. Will there be a opportunity to present a counter or be involved in the conversation? Or alternatively, if we push
ideally, yes.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that there for sure will be.
I
would like you guys to be involved in the conversation to the best of my ability. But as far as this one, nothing I could do about it. As far as things are going forward, ideally, yes. But again, I can't control every aspect, right? And
No. I totally get that, right? I'm not putting this on you, nor the governor or anything like that. More, do you have any insight as to, like, I'll phrase it a different way. Do you have any insight as to why this one was handled this way, but the other one was handled a different way? You know,
Well, because
so that we can kind of like align our expectations, right?
yeah,
Like if
so
someone posts an
basically
audit, we're just like we sit back or do something. Yep.
the thing that you requested with us was an amendment where it would
Yeah.
go through the typical legislative process if it gets posted up. Technically, this is a different action. It's an audit, and audits are typically would also have a hearing, and then any outcomes would be at the judicial authority's discretion. In this case, the audit is, the governor is a smart guy, okay, and he typically is not going to get mired down in bullshit. He's not going to get mired down in like gaslighting or, he's not going to, for the most part, be affected or manipulated by processes because he's so very much distinctly removed and has a very strong idea and opinion of how things in the law should be, right? So I just think that that's probably why it happened like that, is because if anyone's going to have something to say on the matter, it should and probably is and will be him. So I think in this case, it was basically just, well, let's just have the final say from the big man at the top so that there's no confusions or clear or issues going forward. As for why your input wasn't, asked for, I don't know. I can't speak to that.
Okay, I'm gonna just pop this open real quick. Because even I don't remember the details on some of this. To mankind challenges the current law that grants the state marks overall oversight authority over other branches of government, including law enforcement agencies. The law is written, which I don't necessarily agree with, but these laws are written too vaguely to allow excessive unchecked power. Key terms such as conflict and all authority are not clearly defined, which is said to take control away from local police department, from PD and BCSO without clear justification. In addition, the laws allow officers to be suspended without clear deadlines or required hearings, which undermines basic due process. The audit calls for clear rules to be written into law, including exact definitions of authority, a requirement that any suspension be reviewed by a judge, the creation of an independent oversight panel. These changes are necessary to restore the proper balance. Okay, all right. So this is about suspensions and whatnot. Okay. Yeah, I remember this detail. All right. Okay. So, what you got, Angel?
Well, you're not gonna like what I have to say here. I just went to pull up the report, and my MDT is not showing me the category that it started in. So, give me
Oh my God! Why'd you have to phrase it like that? What the fuck?
No, I'm sorry.
That was the worst thing you could have done right there.
I'm sorry. I was pulling up the report, and the MDT is giving me issues right now. Let me fall to my backup one. 1 second. Got it. So I wrote together like a full.
Jesus fuck.
Essentially, the MDT is bugging out. It's not showing me the actual report I had. So
you know what? Fuck it. I'm done.
No, Brian,
fuck
please.
this shit. Got these fucking 2 dog shit PDs. All right. Okay, maybe only one of them. All right. We got corrupt people running around. All right. Can't even fucking, get anyone convicted. And if they do, it's like fucking 3 years. You know what? Fuck this shit.
Yeah, that's relatable.
Oh, it's just the MDT. Oh,
yeah,
never mind.
I got it. So I'm going to share this with you. I wrote this up just so that people understand, because the reality is people don't know how to speak legalese. And so if I put it bluntly, then people can understand. But there's also specific explanations, because essentially with the way that the framework is changing, or the way the framing of things are changing, on the face of it, not much is changing, but there is also a lot.
Can we pause just 1 minute? Blunt's running in right now.
Sure. Let me find a way to share this with you while he's doing that.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's a category that we both have access to that I can put it in?
Can you share it? Is that a...
No, well, it's a justice report.
Oh.
If I make it a private report, would that work?
Yeah, that works. Just for clarity, your Blunt is here. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of this. I'll make this clear when he arrives, but it's good to have a second person, because with the amount of shit that goes through my head every day, I don't want to... If I miss something in this conversation, it's good to have a second person there and be like, well, this was sad, or whatever,
Yeah, I got you. Let's see here. Should be shared with you. and blunt. I shared it with both of you guys. So it's going to be SASM changes. All right. So I will just wait for blunt, I guess, the first. That's talking about the details.
All right.
But I guess feel free to take a look through and read it now.
Let me see. SASM changes. The result of the legislative audit filed by... You know what? I'm going to take a look when blunt derives, so I'm not...
Sure. This stuff at the top here is just explanation text for people who would be reading it. You're more than welcome to peruse it.
Okay. All right. As a result of legislative audit filed by Carmine, the governor of the Senate, has weighed in on the state officials and the Chief Justice to produce the following changes to two pieces of legislation. Senator Stuart Marshall, according to that, and the power and definitions of law enforcement. The following changes were made with the foundation principle in mind. No one is above the law, nor is anyone in Senate exempt from consequences for the actions they take while occupying office of government positions. In alignment with this principle, the senator will no longer be listed as the ultimate authority over law enforcement. The full changes are below, but can be summarized as such. State marshals are equal to the BCSO or equal to the SPD. In the Constitution of San Andreas, the following just for jurisdictional map is drawn. Each agency is assigned a section of jurisdictional hold, which they are designated as the primary law enforcement agency of that section. The state marshal are now only the de facto primary authority in sections that extend San Andreas state on the map and may only exercise further authority Leos when there is a genuine dispute. Huh? Wait, what does this mean? The BCS and LSP are now described as explicit sub-authorities in state territory and must defer to SASM in state jurisdiction. Same way they would defer to others in this. Wait, what does this mean? Doesn't this kill our... Doesn't this mean... Doesn't this... Wait, hold on a second. Wait. This is very confusing language. So I'm reading the here. I'm going to continue reading. Some of the language is just a little confusing, but same guide department now. Well, what that means though.
Hopefully, I can contextualize it with you with examples, and I think it should be more clear. This is still a draft that I was working on. This is going to be released to the public.
Oh, he didn't write this.
No, he wrote the actual legislative amendments. I am writing the explanation around them based off of the conversation that we had and how it's supposed to be interpreted.
Oh,
So essentially,
okay.
What the words mean. This is the judicial interpretation of what these words mean and how we're going to be applying it in the future.
So he wrote the amendment to power. He wrote the section below, and wait, which bit did he write? I'm sorry.
He wrote all the pretty much everything that you see here, all the amended powers and all the new clauses.
I understand. Okay.
And then we had conversations about what they mean, and that's where these things above are derived. This is the DOJ's and my interpretation of these conversations and what these words mean and how they're going to be applied.
I got you. So the paragraph the anything under the amendment bit with the amended clause is what the governor wrote, and then
Yeah,
the
and
stuff
that's what's going to be
above
put in
that is the
legislation.
understood, and the stuff above is it. Okay.
Yeah, the stuff above is just flavor. Essentially,
Yep.
it's for the announcement, just to give further clarification for people. It won't be going in the legislation itself.
Understood.
Sorry, I'm late.
Hi, Blends.
You should have a shared report called SASM changes. We haven't really dove into it just yet. I've only read the first paragraph above, and I'm about to go get into it. Okay, let me see. And then amendment jurisdiction, San Andreas, authority body of law enforcement in the. Oh, wait, this reads different though. Subauthority in the state of San Andreas has jurisdiction authority above law enforcement in matters of genuine disputes only.
Okay.
Exemplary in matters of conflict. Officer BCS may patrol and enforce the laws.
Okay.
Okay. The changes are being made and send us over the further.
Okay, I'm just reading the first part. Does that mean we don't have to do IA anymore?
No, that's not changing at all.
How are we supposed to do IA if we're equal to them?
Because anyone can...
Let's hold the questions there, Blunt, until we read this.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, no worries.
All right. Let me see. Oh wait, that's not going away.
No, it's not. You can read that further at the bottom. There's further clarification on that.
Oh man, I thought that's what this was. Hold on. So, may patrol and enforce the laws as a sub-authority to LSPD. Must defer to LSPD officers in matters of conflict or overlapping jurisdiction. Wait, so what does this? Wait, but what's above does not match what's here. I'm very confused. So, an authoritative body has jurisdiction and authority above in matters of genuine disputes, exemplary in matters of conflict or religion. So may patrol and enforce. Wait, so do we not investigate anymore?
Okay.
I'm in the second part now. Two changes are being made to the sentence. Further enhance. Yeah, but then why does this matter? I'm very confused. Okay, so I'm good to tackle the first bit. The second bit is, I think the first bit is more pressing.
Yeah, the second bit is honestly pretty much what you guys asked for with some specific language changes. So
yeah, I'm not too worried about that part.
So my reading of this first paragraph, and I have a pretty big concern about the way that the language is written. So it states. So what I read in the SASM changes versus what is in here. So I'll kind of get right to it. The inference in this writing is we have jurisdiction strictly in state property, right?
No, you're essentially the de facto authority in those sections, just like LSPD is the authority in their sections.
So are we a sub-authority to the LSPD in Los Santos County?
No, you're not a legislative sub-authority like they are.
Okay.
Oh,
It's more so
okay.
specifically stating in the purple zones on the map, you guys are the ones that have the say, right? But you're not a legislative sub-authority at all. If you pay attention to the language, the only people that are designated as sub-authorities are BCSO and LSPD.
Oh, okay. You know what it is, Angel? It's because we're only seeing this snippet.
Yeah.
It is. I see what's happening here. Okay. So I'm gonna frame it as to why I think I had this impression going into it, because we're seeing a snippet of an edit. We have to look at the rest of the legislation that has not been altered, right? So this doesn't actually change anything.
Well, I mean, it does change.
It does.
It does change. So here's the issue that the state had. Okay. As essentially as the previous powers and definitions of law enforcement officers legislation is written, essentially it states in no uncertain terms that the state marshals have full jurisdiction and authority over everything, and they're the ultimate law enforcement authority over LEOs in matters of conflict and jurisdiction. And it defines them to be the ultimate law enforcement authority in the state of San Andreas. The state doesn't want that. They want all three agencies to be equal. But we always understand that, you know, you have a different purview than BCSO or LSPD, and your purview is the entire state. But at the same time, the SASM, I'm not saying you are doing this. I'm just saying, like, the expectation is that the state marshals cannot lord over and claim to be a superior law enforcement agency to them in a hierarchical sense. You know what I mean? Like, you could.
Yeah, but that's that's what I mean by nothing changes, because we don't do that shit. So
right, exactly. so
all this is saying is, like, to all the people that have been dooming and fucking crying about us being something we have not ever attempted to imply. It is clarifying that. But in relation to our day-to-day, this doesn't actually alter anything.
Yeah, it doesn't really ultimately change anything. Essentially, because technically, before it was a pyramid with you guys at the top, and now you guys are all equal on the scale of things. But the legislated duty, your legislated mission does not change. Like, what you're supposed to be doing doesn't change. And how you affect that still doesn't really change at all. This essentially just removes the concerns in the language that people would have about you guys being the ultimate authority, right?
Yeah. Did anyone ever expand on what that is, like, with any particular examples?
With regards to?
I'm not a fan of the ultimate authority word in general as it is. I know, Blunt, you've got a concern. I want to kind of leave that to you right after this, but
go ahead.
In terms of from a functional perspective, right? Are there any functional examples of what changes for us, right? And that's what I meant by, like, nothing really changes, because I've been, I don't think that's ever been done, right?
You guys keep yourselves to yourselves quite a bit. You don't really get yourselves involved in the back and forth, and there really hasn't been any jurisdictional disputes between the departments like were essentially envisioned. Essentially, when this structure was set up in the first place,
this doesn't change anything.
You remember back in the day, Brian, how BCSO and LSPD would go at it, right? And they would bite each other's necks off, and they would have their disputes and their rivalry and whatnot. The understanding and the concern was that with the new jurisdiction split going from just one county to two, that the departments would start exercising their authority in ways that could be harmful. Like, you can't bring your chase into here. You're banned from Blaine County, or, you can't, pursue this criminal or whatever, right? And the marshals are supposed to be there as the adults in the room who say, or resolve disputes between these departments, such as, Frost, you can't stop Rhodes from chasing this criminal that murdered someone in Laos Pity, as a vague example. You guys are supposed to be there to sort out the the spats that they would get into, and to clean up the mess, so to speak, when they actually are fighting. The reality is that doesn't happen that much, if at all. I can't really think of it. It's probably been a year since the last like legitimate jurisdictional disputes where when Vincent Ventura was like quote unquote kidnapping people to like process them up north or whatever. That's the last time I could think of that it's occurred. But the marshals are supposed to be there to resolve stuff like that. It's one of their duties.
So if nothing changes, was this meant to these questions are a means for context here. I'm trying to ask some questions to try to properly digest this so we don't get blindsided. Is this solely in order to satisfy Carmine's fears?
No.
Let me say it a different way.
So.
That was like right off the top, because that's kind of what I'm looking at it as, like, because I have to look at the audit, right? And the statements in the audit, and then, what altered from it. And while the word ultimate authority has been removed, but the mission statement has not, instead it is worded in a different phrase, or in different words, right? Or at least added some clarity to it. I'm sort of asking that from the perspective of like, what does that change? What could we have done previously that we cannot do anymore? You see where I'm going with this?
Yes, I understand what you're getting at. I can't speak exactly to what imagined scenarios were going through people's minds. I do know from the conversations I've had with people in the lead up to all those events, there was always fears in the minds of people that the marshals would show up to a scene, take jurisdiction, kick people off, seize reports, kind of act like a hyper authoritative dictatorship in a way, like a pseudo dictatorship in a way, and essentially force their will onto local police departments and force them to bend to their will. And they were concerned that the ultimate authority line would enable them to do so. And in a way, they're not wrong. And let me explain why I say that, because I know it may sound crazy, but when we made the state marshals, one of the intentions and one of the reasons I wrote it that way was the state marshals were supposed to kick the local police department off of scenes because they were shitty and dog shit at their job, and the state marshals were the trained people to do it. That was literally why that language was put that way. But people just couldn't handle that, so that behavior was walked back. And it isn't the way it is now, but that's how it was initially designed to be, that the marshals would show up to a scene. They were the detectives, the investigative body. They would do the processing of evidence. They would control the scene, and they would take that investigation. And I think Pred and his friends probably are still in the mindset of that's how they are, because that's how they were 2 years ago. And that's how they were designed 2 years ago. But from my perspective, I've never seen you guys do that in the current iteration of how things are.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. So it then draws the second, right? And I think you may have experienced some of this yourself when you were at the BCSO. So let me give you a functioning example of concern, right, with this change. So let's use an example, right? We've been working with the faceless case.
Yeah.
As you've seen. There's a lot of documentation surrounding it, etc. There are individuals in both departments that are involved. Certain detectives are on one investigation, some are on some others. With this language change, and this is more so in the means by which it's written, right? The authoritative body of law enforcement, and in what is in SASM changes, it would be good to get the clarity on this. So let me actually highlight the lines and kind of walk you to what my thinking here is.
Sorry.
So it states here, legislature, the following transit remain the foundational principle in their mind that no one is above the law, blah, blah, blah. And they take while occupying office. Where is this? Okay. So the first line says the state marshals are equal to the BCSO, who are equal to the LSPD, with that being on a separate paragraph, right? As opposed to the previous ones in terms of, what is, like it's not clarifying that this is in terms of above the law, not above the law. But if we then continue reading that paragraph, it says in the Constitution, the following justificational map, each agency is assigned a jurisdiction to hold, et cetera, et cetera. And now the de facto primary authority. This line, this paragraph right here seems to be a bit counter to the paragraph in relation to our duties. And I'll point you to both of them just to kind of show you the lens I'm looking through.
Sorry.
Give me a second. Or I'll just kind of, let me see. So I actually, we don't even need to do that. So take, for example, the faceless, right? That is by virtue of our legislation, a part of our mandate because they're a state actor, right? However, when you look at this, the question becomes, if the faceless go and bomb, say, something down, in the city, and we're on scene, do we give that authority to the LSPD? You guys handle it? Do they have an opportunity to take the scene? Right? Do you see?
I'm not
where I'm going with
sure.
this?
I'm not sure I understand where you're getting at.
Given that the Los Santos Police Department is the law enforcement agency in Los Santos, and if a state level actor does a crime,
The primary, I wouldn't say ultimate, the primary.
The primary, yep. Does that mean we default to them?
No. I mean, you don't have to defer to them at all, actually.
Okay.
I don't know if you, we went back over this earlier, but the only time that deferments are required is when you're a legislative sub-authority, and BCSO and LSPD are legislated as people that must defer to the others, right? You guys don't have to defer to them. So I guess so here's the issue. You guys are separate but equal in like this very nebulous way. It's very hard to explain without using shitty analogies. So I'm going to try this, okay? The state marshals are like water, okay? And BCSO and LSPD are two sides of a lock that jam together, and you guys flow in between that lock. You are kind of like an amorphous state law enforcement agency that exists everywhere and anywhere. You're the same as them, but you're different. Your mandate's different. Your mission's different. Where you patrol and where your jurisdiction is, it's different. You can't go into LSPD territory and boss them around, like, so to speak. Like, you can't tell them what to do any more than they can tell you what to do, right? That can't happen. If you're handling a scene and there's jurisdictional conflicts that do arise, then there is an authority that's designated to handle jurisdictional conflicts, and that's the San Andreas State Marshals. So if you're handling
so what you're saying
scene,
is we're still technically the ultimate authority, since we can fix the dispute by saying mine now.
if you're handling a scene and they try to interfere with it, then you can say, this is my scene, fuck off, basically. Yes.
This is I know you guys are disputing with us over this bank truck. We'll fix the dispute between us and you.
On the flip side, the LSPD BCSO cannot order marshals off a scene because it's in their jurisdiction. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I mean, you guys are around, you can do it. I mean, I would say this, though, like, it's probably not wise to insert yourself into a scene if they don't want your assistance.
No. Of course not. I think...
but do they legally have the authority to order us off a scene if we... Because, there's the reality of our department, right, is mid shift 1 into pretty much all of shift 2 is really the core of what the marshals do, right? Like all of that shit is happening.
I feel like some of this is worth expanding on, because I know
when there's not.
Look, the reason I'm asking these questions is more to understand it.
The reality is marshals start doing typical law enforcement work. If that's, if there's nothing else to do and there's low unit numbers.
Listen. Look, Blunt, I'm not concerned with that's such a secondary, tertiary issue. For me, because look, some of those things we can figure out, right? But right now, I couldn't give a fuck if a marshal couldn't go to a bank truck and got told to fuck off.
Well, I just want to know if that's what the legislation is.
I don't care.
What it specifically says is that you guys can go do your thing. You can go patrol wherever you want. I mean, you're law enforcement agencies, okay? You guys can go enforce the law however the fuck you want, as long as it's with a legal distinction, okay? You're not legislatively required to listen to them in their territory, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not wise to just show up and big dick them and say, you can't tell me what to do. Because if you do that, there's always the arguments they can make that you're actively interfering with their law enforcement, and they could potentially file ACRs or whatever, and then maybe further precedents could be set. So I would probably recommend against
100%
meddling with them.
The joke that was joking about the bank truck thing. With my reading of this, my only concern with this is because it is not expanded on. I see where this is going with the totality of the language. But under the sub-authority, it says SASM has jurisdiction and authority above law enforcement officers in matters of genuine disputes only, exemplarily in matters of conflict or overriding jurisdictional disagreements. BCSO and LSPD may blah, 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 right? So I am just concerned that look, I'm just going to give you an example, and we'll see how it plays out, right? But I do believe this is a valid concern, is we're managing a case, right? Weeks on end, whatever it may be. And in fact, I will give you a direct example of it. We had the situation with Frederick White. Now that the case is over and done with, I will sort of open a bit, is that was someone that was very heavily investigated. And as a consequence of the actions that took place and the raid that took place, it kind of fucked us. Now, we didn't sit back and start kicking and screaming over it. We just have to adapt, right? What's done is done.
Right.
However, that was still, regardless of the damage we believe it accrued, was a oopsie. It was not intentional, right? Just a lot of bad decision making along the way. However, if say we need to go into an asset's house and we're investigating it or whatever, and the crime that spurred it off was over at LSP, like in Los Santos County. We've got these individuals down in the cells, and someone decides, well, I've got one of the 595s. According to my chief, I'm going to go and decide to go and raid this property, right? Do you believe this language is in there enough such that we're not going to end up in that dick, fighting match? You know what I mean? In your opinion,
I don't really think that there's anything I could put into paper to stop people from fucking with you like that if they really wanted to.
Yeah, that is
outside of making it like a straight up criminal thing. And I mean, you could argue that it very well could be. If you're investigating something, you have someone in custody, and someone chooses to unilaterally do something that interferes with the investigation, it very well could be a crime.
It's that clear line that I'm concerned with. I think maybe I'm going overboard with these. Someone decides like, fuck the marshals, we're going to go fuck with this case. Just to see their reaction or whatever. Not like that hasn't happened, multiple times already. But that would be my only concern with this ultimate authority thing, is the blurring of the lines over these bigger investigations, right?
The reality is the base sentiments that was expressed to me by the governor and was expressed to me by the state. And
Mhm.
I'm going to just keep repeating because I think this is the easiest way to get it through to people. And it's
Mhm.
what I'm going to be repeating to people over and over again. Any department can run any investigation into anyone that they want. No one is immune or above the law. Anyone can be charged with crimes. Anyone can be impeached. Anyone can be ACR. If you don't like someone running in a separate and simultaneous investigation to you, there's not much I can
Hey,
do to
Sue
stop that from
Vanner.
happening. And I
Hey,
know that might not be the answer you want to
kindly
hear,
kill yourself.
but that's essentially what it comes
Take
down
a knife to
to
your throat.
is each
If you're
department is more
gonna
than welcome
jump in my
to
channel for the
investigate
first time, waiting for a
crimes that
reaction,
occur and have the right to
and
do so.
drop that autistic shit in chat, kill yourself kindly. Do it tonight if you don't mind.
I do know very well the consequences that could and very likely will come from what I've just said to you, but that's just the sentiment that I'm expressing. So
That's crazy, man. Yeah. All right.
So just from what I've heard you explain, and without
Yeah, sorry,
changing
chat.
or
When you get
modifying any
cringe
of the core
lords that,
principles of what is being described
brother,
here in the
go
top
back
of
to your
the actual
Discord,
changes,
and maybe tonight,
I just shared with both of you a little
end it.
notepad that I've had here.
Roleplay
because I think it's
community
easier
does
to
not need
explain.
individuals like yourself. Thank you.
I think this language, just being added, what's there in yellow, clarifies exactly what you're saying above a bit more, and takes away a bit of the ambiguity of the questions.
I'm gonna be
that I had.
honest. I'm not touching it.
Okay.
The governor wrote this. I'm not
Okay, I
changing a
wasn't
word
okay.
in there. Okay.
Gotcha.
I'm not gonna add an and. I'm not gonna add an or. I'm not gonna add a line. I'm leaving it as it is. And
Okay.
I'll suggest it, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
be
don't
putting it
come
in
into
as
this
he wrote
chat
it,
room with your
essentially.
fucking unhinged
Gotcha.
autism.
The only thing I changed there
Brother,
really was
individuals like
the-
yourself is
'cause you
what
say
turns
that,
these
you know,
RP scenarios
sub-authority language isn't there about SASM.
Mhm.
into something they're not.
And so this just
Kill yourself.
specifies that it's not, the sub-authority thing doesn't apply.
Alongside others like you.
I think that is going
You
to be
don't
a
have
big
any
point of
authority, or
contention where
I'm
it's
the
just-
ultimate authority
well, it
in
doesn't
this chat
say
room.
They aren't, is
Thank you.
Leaves a lot of room for interpretation.
No, it doesn't, because that's a stupid argument, and I don't really want to hear it, and I don't care if they say that. So
Okay.
Yeah. Would it be possible that in the we can touch on some of these matters in the in the writing above? Like I said, that is my only primary concern, right? Is
with like you want to revisit the way they're written?
no the under the SASM changes, like, so this is a so we discussed a lot about like investigations and whatnot. A lot of this language is mostly focused around like jurisdictional disputes, but given how it crosses into the investigative nature and the duties that we still need to conduct, some clarity around that space would be very good, right?
What kind of clarity do you think I should put in there?
The San Andreas State Marshal still will be, doing the, and then insert all the things that are in the SASM legislation about, IA, state threats, et cetera, et cetera. That is their primary mandate.
Sure. Yeah, I can reiterate that.
And then sort of perhaps touching on in moment jurisdictional disputes surrounding that. Like, and just for clarity here, right? There is a fear, because I have not only been a part of the conversations around it, amongst past high command. Getting the clarity there would be good, so I don't have to deal with any shitlording around state matters and people pulling jurisdiction in the middle of a state scene.
Well, you know what city you're working in right now, Brian. You're always gonna have to deal with shit like that.
No, we are, but I think if it's good to give that clarity out there, right?
Yeah, I agree. I can add some more language in there and further expand on that for sure.
Yeah.
That's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
Well, we still have the other two lines to go over. or the other 2 amendments. Whenever you're done talking about this one, we can move on to the next 2.
Okay. Oh, there's 2 others?
There's 3 in total, yeah.
Am I tripping? I only see 2.
New clause to the amendment and then the amended clause in the...
Yeah, if you go all the way down to the bottom. So these are going to be sections. So the first one is going into powers and definitions of LEOs. And the one at the bottom is the ones that are going into the state marshal's legislation.
Sarah, chat, sorry I went so ham into him.
The ones at the top is a new clause that's being inserted.
I hate people that sit around
to an existing clause.
in chat rooms, first-time chatters, waiting to defend their streamers or changes or whatever. It's so fucking cringe, man.
With the new clause.
Like, listen, man. Like,
yeah, the new clause is essentially
like what are you doing with your life?
Asked for, but reformatted and more specifically put in place.
Motherfuckers think it's like real life. It's fucking frustrating.
A new process for citizens to petition the DOJ to release your guys' information.
Yeah. I really do hope he ends it this evening.
Pretty high bar to meet when we're talking about ongoing investigations. It's not going to be like a simple thing to achieve,
it's okay
like
for me.
Would be. So that one, I honestly, I don't really even know what it would take to get that released. But it would take a lot.
Individuals like that, they're not good for society.
Down here at the bottom, there's specific language how the director of the state marshals can release specific investigative information, specifically for the purposes of public safety transparency, in the form of public communications such as press conferences or official statements being made. And I guess there's a final clause in here that Brian has to record any information that's voluntarily disclosed during an ongoing investigation. So you have to make a report for that or something.
What does that mean in terms of like a litmus test? So as an example, right? Wait, actually, give me a sec. Let me just read this one more time because
go through and take your time.
Individual information gathered by the senators during the course of an investigation, review, or oversight action, including but not limited to reports, notes, statements, evidence, recording, photos, and communication shall remain confidential while an investigation is.
Back what I said earlier, there's one big concern I have here.
Sure.
So, I mean, throughout the course of an investigation, with different suspects, I mean, typically, let's say an interrogation, there are tidbits, pieces of information that they're learned throughout an investigation that would be potentially shared or spoken about in order to invoke a reaction from the suspect that you're interrogating, right? They might lie, and you might say, well, I know that that's not true because we pulled your phone records and your phone records show this. But technically, based on this, that's investigative information gathered by us that must remain confidential until the investigation is closed.
Well, the scope of this is it's specifically for formal communications that are being made. So if it's as part of an ongoing investigation, we don't require police officers or detectives to document the information they disclose like that. Like they're like, well, we actually have the murder weapon. Gotcha, bitch. We don't require that. And that's not what this line was intended or specifically formulated to mean. It's supposed to mean that any communications being released needs to be documented and stored.
Okay.
So when Brian has a press conference, he's got to notate that.
This is only in relation to press conferences. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if it's like, or for example, if you sent like a packet of information to the Chronicle, for example, like if you sent them off some stuff, you need to notate that you did that.
Okay. This is all scoped within this is what I'm hearing.
Yes. Okay. Its scope contains to the voluntary release of information of ongoing investigative materials for the purposes of public communication.
Okay.
I think that being said in there would be helpful. Because I get that color, but it doesn't say that. At least the first sentence especially doesn't say that.
You're dealing with individuals with 5 months of trauma there, Angel. You know, I'm sorry you have to hear this.
I get it. I do. I understand. I'm just saying, like, the reality is that, like, I'm sorry, guys, if somebody is suing you because you didn't record that you wrote down that you told some guy something offhand, and I'm just gonna dismiss it. Like I don't know what to say. Like I know you're concerned that's what that means, but we're just
Yeah.
not gonna entertain that.
Okay.
What the reality is that we can write things a million different ways, and there's always going to be people that have their own interpretation of what it means.
You know what
right?
I think solves this? In fact,
What's that?
Is that when this clause goes in, it goes in its own subsection called like disclosures or something, so that this paragraph is not read
like how I format it.
Exactly. Like this, what you're saying makes sense as it's a snippet, right? Just as previous, the concerns we were bringing up was coming from the perspective of, if you just look at the snippet when, outside of the scope of everything else, it can paint a picture. And
I get that. And I can format it as such so that it's clear. I totally get your concern, Blend, but I'll make sure that it doesn't read like that.
Have you, out of curiosity, have you guys joined my new casino?
No.
What?
Yeah. Use code NIGHT. It's a crypto
you have a
casino.
new that sounds fun.
It's an alternative to a different one that's being advertised.
I see. I'll have to join that.
Yeah.
I start gambling again.
Well, no, I'm saying like if you were going to,
Well, I've been winning at gambling. I went to the Pokemon Game Center the other day and I won 10,000 coins in 2 hours. I was hitting 777s back to back.
Hell yeah.
Okay, and then we've got the final clause.
Yeah. So the one that's in here, this is essentially I don't actually know if they intended for it to be like this, but it no longer is government officials, and it now says specifically law enforcement. But one of the things here is this is going to be replacing in your initial description of what you guys do. There's a clause in here that says you can suspend people, right? So this is now basically just says that you can only suspend people if you file the charges on the docket. So you essentially have to do them hand in hand now.
Investigating misconduct with any law enforcement agency involving jurisdiction. Only when LSPD and BCSO should have an overlapping conflict arise. Investigating and stopping organized crime and temporary. Wait. Oh. Where is this clause? Oh, up here. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like buried in the state marshal's one. It's not immediately clear.
The only thing that has always sucked about that sentence, and it still exists with the revised one, is people take that and say, that's all the SASM's allowed to do. And I've pointed out to people that says, well, it does say includes this stuff. It does not say includes only these things. There have been folks that have made the argument that because this is the defined scope, that we aren't law enforcement agents and we're not allowed to enforce normal laws. We're only allowed to do these things.
Yeah, but have you considered their opinion is stupid and it doesn't matter?
I have.
Yeah, but Angel, here's the thing, right? And I think the reason Blunt's bringing it up, and even the other concerns, it's we can sit in a room here and we can absolutely be on the same page, and I think that's where we're getting at with all this, right? I had some concerns, we've resolved them, but on a daily matter, right? Law enforcement is going to read these things and we're going to have those conversations, and I think
but no matter how many times we write this or explain it to them, they're going to still be intentionally obtuse, because
true. I agree with that.
I think all three of us know that these complaints that you're raising, to be blunt, they know very damn well that what they're saying too is fucking stupid. And they're doing it on purpose because they're being intentionally obtuse and they're just trying to be obstructive and be obnoxious.
And
there's not very many ways I can write it otherwise to fix that,
I think there are some ways. Yeah, I think and maybe the way to go about this is through the same process. Hey, these things happen. We are looking to add this clause, and so example, right? Some of it can be. Sometimes it's good to have a sword available in the corner, right? And as an example, and I don't want to say my entire statement is just based on this, but Like the Blunt's concern. Is that a valid concern? Do we deal with it on a daily basis? Absolutely. And having a line that says, there could be a line added that we can point at and be like, you're wrong because look, right? That shuts down a lot of those kind of problems, but we can do that
I get
separate
that.
to this.
But I mean, like, the legislation says that your jurisdiction includes doing all these different things. But just because it doesn't say like your job is to go and tackle drug dealers, it doesn't mean that you can't go tackle a drug dealer, you know? Like, you can throw it right back in their face that the only authority, guys, listen, the only thing that even authorizes LSPD and BCSO to enforce the laws is the lines in the powers and definitions of LEOs that says they can enforce the law. That's literally it, right? And you can throw it right back in their face and you can say, oh yeah, well, it doesn't say in here that you can't do this, that, and the other thing that you do all the time. You know, they're needlessly nitpicking you. This legislation that you guys have expands and empowers your scope. It doesn't restrict it.
Fair enough.
I agree.
Right.
My only fear is
investigating misconduct with any
you have this understanding and we have this understanding in this room, right?
Yeah.
But let's say, God forbid, tomorrow, you, me, Brian, something happens and we were in a helicopter and we all get fucking blown up, right? The next Chief Justice or whatever is going to be left with the text as it's written and not potentially necessarily have the same understanding that you have right now. And that is the fear, is that just because you interpret something one way doesn't mean every judge, every justice, the next Chief Justice is going to interpret it the same way. And that's where I think clarity would be helpful.
I guarantee you, if they're the new, if I explode tonight and the next Chief Justice comes in and starts interpreting things differently, they're going to be very quickly set straight by the state. I mean, like, there's only so many of my opinions that are my own, is just how I can put it bluntly, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm putting I used a little diff tool just to see what's changed. So it looks like jurisdictional conflicts between agencies in the field have changed to jurisdictional only when LSPD and BCSO should have an overlapping conflict arise. That actually expands our authority. Do you see that, Blunt? It's not just on the field, it's a generality. The second bit here, which I actually like that language because on the field implies, you know, I mean, hopefully we don't have to do that shit because holy fuck.
Right.
And then the second line says, that said agency or individual has engaged in, because which probable cause has been established, that said agency or individual has engaged in unlawful acts until such a time that matters has been resolved. And it goes on to say, and correct charges have been filed in a court of law. As probable cause has been established, that such, okay, charges have been filed in a court of law. Okay, so what does that last
We can't suspend
bit mean?
people during investigations anymore. We have to file the charges before we can suspend them.
Yes, that's what that means. If you want to suspend someone, there has to be an accompanying post on the docket, or like you have to be arresting them.
That is okay. Beautiful.
So like let's throw back to the Pred scenario, the Pred situation, or whatever. To do the suspension of
poor
Pred,
guy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Poor guy. To do the suspension of Pred, you essentially.
What did EMS ever do to him?
I don't know.
That
You would have had to have had the. Yeah, well, you would have had to have the docket post ready to go the day of, essentially, or you would have just had to wait till you had it ready, or alternatively, you could just put him in cuffs and take him into a jail cell and send him up. However you wanted to handle it, really.
So functionally, it doesn't really change anything. It's just.
Yeah, it's just more explicit that you have to be ready to go with your charges before you can do the suspension. It essentially removes the possibility for like an amorphous grace period.
Do you know what we're planning on doing, Angel? You ready for this?
I'm ready.
After the horse shit we dealt with for last 6 weeks while the mayor sat there with his dick in his hand. We are give me a second. We will be actually forwarding some of these findings to the mayor. So because we don't
like
believe
what
we're
the officers do, or
yeah, kind of. We're not the only ones that we are not the only entity that needs to hold people accountable. So
sure, yeah, that's correct.
yeah. And we're gonna assist with the process.
Well, that's good. I do really. It frustrates me how the weight of holding people accountable gets levied on you guys when the system is designed with everyone being expected to hold people accountable if they're actually making mistakes. And I do think people don't want to do that, and that's why they keep loading it onto you. And that's not entirely fair to the marshals. You know, you guys are only so many people. You can't possibly hold everyone accountable for every wrongdoing that occurs in the state, you know?
Okay. This is good.
I'm glad to hear. I hope that the things that we have in here are well understood and explained to you, and there's not really any that I mean, I'm sure you guys have concerns. You may not like the language in them, and that's understandable to a degree. The way things are, like always, is not permanent. Things can always change in the future. If you guys want to you know, kick back some suggestions that I can toss in front of his face, and maybe he'll respond to them sooner or later, I could do that. But we're going to be putting this in pretty much after this meeting. I'm going to let it go live. So
okay.
Gotcha.
Those are going to be the changes? What about the surrounding text? The
yeah, I need to finish writing that.
okay.
There's still some
Oh,
more stuff I'll
okay.
put in there for you.
Yeah, like I said,
that surrounding text is essentially a lot of people complains that they don't know what the fuck they're reading, and so this has me trying to explain what the hell they're reading means.
Yeah,
So,
like
I
even
can go through it again and make sure the clarifications are understood and there's not any confusion.
yeah, like I said, for me, a lot of this makes sense. But once again, please do consider that, because I believe when most people read this, as I have read it, is we're going to look at the amended clause section and look at it in a vacuum, right? I think that's a very natural way of reading it. And as such, while after this conversation, things have been a lot clearer, having like, for example, with the investigative stuff, having that clarity, hey, they're still going to be doing blah 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 blah, that is still their responsibility, kind of resolves it in my mind, so that, you know, because when you first look at it, it kind of looks like, hey dog, you're only going to be, you know, patrolling the the fucking
yeah,
you know, the blue lines, you know what I mean?
That, yeah.
So and then even some of the things we brought up, you know, hopefully that can be touched on the bottom two clauses.
Here is that the things that I'm describing here are concepts that are kind of hard to put into words, because we're talking about jurisdiction, while also sub-authorities to authorities who have jurisdictional authority in these specific sections, while other authorities have specifically separate mandates that are not beholden to others. And that's a very difficult thing to put into words, essentially. So I totally get that. I'll go back through and make sure it's more clear and not misunderstood.
Yeah,
because a lot of people are very simple. They're gonna read this and they're gonna think, so TLDR what? And you know, it's not necessarily possible to distill complex ideas like this into a TLDR like that. So.
I'm asking, yeah, and I'm kind of asking, like, please help me avoid a headache of,
yeah, I'll do my best.
You know, hey, that shit didn't change, right? Like, these are the things that didn't change.
Yeah, I'll do my best to reaffirm that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in terms of actual changes to put forward, the only suggestion I've got is kind of what I shared there. It's a couple words to each section, but I think
Where did you
it will
put
add
it?
a lot of clarity. I shared it with both of you. My little blunt
What is it?
notes. It should be your most recent shared report.
So I'm not going to be putting the in addition to all standard law enforcement powers thing at the end, because this clause is going to be essentially added in to your already legislated duties. I'm just going to slot it in neatly into there. So it's going to be like
This is the
part of the
amended
other
clause,
things.
right? So this is the one that's already in there.
At the very, very, very bottom, where it's talking
Mhm.
about you investigating misconduct, I'm going to slot that neatly in between the other things like resolving jurisdictional conflicts, stopping crime, blah blah blah
Okay,
blah blah.
gotcha,
So like
gotcha.
it's going to
Okay,
be slotted in there. It's not replacing that section entirely. It's going into
Okay.
it.
gotcha.
So
As for the sub authority, the Article 3 stuff, those changes, I mean, obviously, if the governor wrote this, like, those changes aren't going to happen today.
No,
But
of course not.
blunt, that larger conversation we can have if we think that there's bits that could use expansion or clarity, we could just do that through the normal process with a argument as
yeah,
to why, right?
Sure.
absolutely. I'm not saying like don't bother. I'm just saying like it's not going to happen today. So
No, that was never an expectation. I fully understand.
okay, well, good. Well, like everything we discussed here, everything's always subject to change. Nothing's permanent. But these things are getting put in. If you guys want to use the regular process to try and make your own suggestions, whatever you can. And in the future, I'm going to try and encourage, or I'm going to make an attempt to essentially get like an opposing side point of view before pushing something like that, because I cannot necessarily speak on your guys' behalf. So
Yeah, I think that probably would have been helpful, but appreciate you regardless.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
all right. Well, you
Thank
guys
you
have any
very
other
much.
questions?
Nope, not
I'm
really.
good.
You mentioned
Okay.
something about we're going to hate something, but I'm kind of, am I missing something?
No, I thought you're gonna hate me. Remember, it was like I couldn't find the report. It was a misunderstanding. Like I was like, "Oh, you're gonna hate me, Brian, because I can't find the report now."
Oh, okay. I
It
thought
was
like further in the conversation you said there's going to be something at the bottom or something, or maybe I misunderstood.
yeah, because Blunt basically said, "Oh, good, so we don't have to do IA anymore," and I said, "Well,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I made that comment as soon as I read that we're equal. I thought, okay, good, we don't have to do IA, but no,
yeah."
we still.
So I mean, like the issue that people just can't seem to get through their fucking heads is that these impeachment and ACR processes are meant for people to hold others accountable. I'm just going to speak very plainly here because I don't think it does anyone any good dancing around the actual subject of our conversation. Um, in the Carmine and Pred and all that case, if
Hmm.
they materially had issues with you guys showing up and ranting in a court case at the nth hour about how you guys are maliciously prosecuting them is not going to get results. But if they file an authority conduct review and make those same arguments with specific examples, it's a different format and a different forum for that conversation to occur. And it's very difficult to get people to understand that we try to maintain a scope to the way we do our hearings, and we try to make things done the proper way. The reality is, you guys did what you did because you filed the proper paperwork and you followed through on it. And at the end of the day, no one can complain if they don't do the corresponding action in kind. If you don't file your paperwork, then you don't get to complain about it. To put it bluntly.
Makes sense.
So, I'm going to go ahead and work on those updated suggestions. Thank you guys for coming to have this conversation with me. I really wanted to have this sit down conversation with you before I just sprung it. It's been done for a couple days, but I just really wanted to have this courtesy and have this discussion so that there was no element of like feeling like you were ambushed or like just forced upon. I mean, it is being forced upon you. There's nothing you really do about it, but like, I don't know. I think it's better to talk about it first. So
I appreciate that greatly. Sorry for being late.
it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to get back to working on it, you guys. Thank you very much for coming.
Awesome. Thank you.
You take care, right?
Yeah.
You as well.
As well.
Hey, Springfield. Could have come inside. The fuck? Not. I'm gonna pretend I said nothing. I get that she thinks we're not going to have problems based on that, but we're going to have so many problems based on that.
Yeah, there was a lot of, well, I get it, so it doesn't matter. People are always going to have issues. Listen, I was going to die on that hill, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
But let's drive and chat about this.
Okay.